Peace does not come when the world finally bends to your liking. Peace begins the moment you stop insisting it must. We spend so much time hoping life will turn out exactly as we imagined, clinging to our ideals, resisting what is right in front of us. But life has never promised comfort, fairness, or perfection. It only promises change. To struggle against what is to exhaust the spirit. It is like shouting at the rain, demanding it shine. Reality does not take orders. It does not care for our wishes. It simply unfolds. But here lies the quiet power. When you stop arguing with the world, when you stop demanding that people behave a certain way, that events unfold on your timeline, you begin to find clarity. You begin to find calm. There is no wisdom in wishing things were different when they already are. There is only confusion. There is only the pain of unmet expectations. And yet you still hold power, not over what happens, but over how you meet it. When setbacks come, meet them with steadiness. When loss arrives, greet it with presence. When life surprises you, let go of your picture of how things should be. Peace lives in that surrender, not a surrender of effort, but of illusion. You are not weak for accepting what you cannot control. You are strong for seeing the world clearly and walking forward anyway. Acceptance is not giving up. It is the beginning of true action, because only when you stop wasting energy on resistance can you focus on what truly matters. Your response, your values, your way of being. Ask yourself this: are you holding on to a version of life that no longer exists? Are you delaying peace until everything is perfect? If so, release it. What you have, this moment, this breath, this challenge, is enough. Let the world be what it is. Let people be who they are. Do not place your serenity in someone else's hands. Do not tie your worth to the shape of outcomes. Your anchor must come from within. The winds of life will always blow. The question is, will you let them carry you into chaos, or will you stand firm, still, calm, rooted in what you can control? Accept reality, not because it is easy, but because it is wise. And in that acceptance you will find something rarer than comfort: peace. We often believe that the cause of our suffering is the event itself. A loss, a betrayal, a failure, a sudden change. But in truth, it is our refusal to accept the event that deepens the pain. Reality arrives uninvited and unannounced. It does not ask for our permission. And yet, instead of meeting it with clarity, we often meet it with resistance. We say, this shouldn't have happened, or why me, or this isn't fair. These thoughts do not solve the problem. They do not remove the event. They only layer suffering on top of suffering. A person loses a job and falls into despair, not only because the job is gone, but because of the belief that it shouldn't have been lost, that things should have gone differently. Another person is treated unfairly and becomes consumed by the idea that justice should have prevailed. In both cases, what hurts the most is not just the situation, but the fight against it. Life is not always fair, and it never promises to match our expectations. When we demand that it does, we put ourselves in a constant state of disappointment. There is a difference between feeling pain and multiplying it. Pain is natural. It is part of being alive, but resistance is a choice, often an unconscious one. The moment something happens, the mind rushes to label it as bad, wrong, or unacceptable. But what if, instead of judging it immediately, we simply observed it? What if we stopped asking reality to be different than it is? That shift in perception, subtle as it may seem, changes everything. When the mind lets go of its protest, even in difficult times, there is a kind of spaciousness that opens up. In that space, peace becomes possible. We are taught from a young age to fight for what we want, to shape our lives through effort and ambition. And while effort is important, it is equally important to know when to stop pushing. There are moments when life speaks clearly: this door is closed, this person is gone, this phase has ended. When we refuse to listen, when we cling to what no longer is, we cause ourselves harm. We stay trapped in a mental war with a world that has already moved on. That war is exhausting. It drains energy, clouds judgment, and creates bitterness where there could be understanding. Even small moments reveal this truth. You're stuck in traffic and anger rises. But the cars aren't moving because of a condition outside your control. The anger, however, comes from within, from the refusal to accept the delay. The same applies to bigger events: heartbreak, illness, setback. If we can meet these moments with the understanding that they are part of the human experience, not personal punishments or cosmic errors, then we can begin to soften our reaction. We still feel, but we do not drown. Reality as it is neutral. It does not target us. It simply unfolds according to its nature. The sky brings storms as well as sunshine. People act according to their own thoughts, not ours. Circumstances change because change is the rule, not the exception. When we internalize this, not just intellectually but deeply, we begin to notice how often we create our own suffering by fighting what cannot be fought. We want permanence where there is impermanence. We want control where there is none. We want certainty in a world built on movement and flux. And yet, when we stop resisting, something quiet and powerful emerges. Not apathy, not indifference, but a grounded presence that sees things as they are and no longer needs to protest. There is a quiet kind of strength that often goes unnoticed, one that does not shout or demand attention. It is the strength of someone who sees life clearly and chooses to meet it with calm acceptance. This kind of strength is not found in force or control, but in the ability to let go of what cannot be held. It is not the clenched fist, but the open hand. The world often tells us that strength means domination, winning, asserting your will at all costs. But those who have truly endured life's hardest trials know otherwise. Real strength lies in understanding what is within your control and what is not, and in having the discipline to accept the difference. To accept what you cannot change is not to give up. It is to rise above the illusion that everything must go your way. It is to recognize that no matter how much effort you put forth, there will always be circumstances, events, and outcomes that remain beyond your influence. Illness, loss, disappointment, the passing of time, these are things that no amount of willpower can undo. And so in the face of them, the only real choice is how you will respond. Will you collapse in resentment, or will you stand firm and composed? That is the test of character. Strength is often misunderstood as resistance, but resistance without wisdom is just stubborn. To refuse reality does not make you powerful. It makes you blind. A river does not cut through rock by defying it, but by flowing with its shape. The one who accepts reality is not weak. They are aware. They are capable of enduring life not because it is easy, but because they have chosen not to be broken by its difficulty. Their strength is rooted in clarity, not in control. The one who accepts also conserves energy. Instead of wasting their days in anger over what has already happened or worrying about what might come, they use their strength wisely. They act where they can act. They speak where their voice matters. They adjust where adjustment is possible. And when the line appears, the line where their influence ends, they stop pushing. They breathe, they allow, and in doing so they remain free. There is a kind of unshakable power in this approach to life. It is the power of a mind that has stopped arguing with the present moment, a mind that no longer flinches at discomfort or unpredictability, a mind that has practiced stillness and in that stillness found a reserve of strength deeper than anything chaos can disturb. This is not the strength of the momentary outburst or the emotional surge. It is the strength of endurance, of persistence, of silence held with grace. It takes far more courage to say, "This is how it is, and I will face it," than to endlessly ask, "Why me?" The one who can look at their reality, even when it hurts, and respond with acceptance, is the one who cannot be shaken by life's storms. Their roots are deep. They do not deny their feelings, but they are not ruled by them either. They feel, but they do not fall apart. They adjust, but they do not abandon themselves. This kind of strength is rare, not because it is beyond reach, but because it demands inner work. It asks for honesty. It requires us to strip away illusion and ego, to see things not as we wish them to be, but as they are. And from that clear-eyed place it becomes possible to act with calm, to endure with dignity, and to move forward with quiet, unwavering resolve. There is a limit to how much of the world we can shape. Despite our best efforts, there will always be events that unfold beyond our control. Circumstances we never asked for, words spoken by others, changes in the world that arrive without warning. This truth, though uncomfortable, holds the key to a deeper form of strength, the ability to take ownership of how we respond. While we cannot control the wind, we can adjust our sails. And in this simple shift lies a profound form of freedom. We often believe that peace will come when everything outside of us is in order, when others treat us well, when life goes according to plan. But that kind of peace is fragile. It depends entirely on things we cannot command. The more we place our sense of calm in the hands of other people or outside circumstances, the more easily we are thrown into chaos. A single word, a change in plans, a moment of loss, and suddenly we are unmoored. It becomes clear that the outside world was never a stable place to anchor ourselves. But within us there is a space that cannot be taken away. It is the space where decisions are made, where thoughts are examined, where perspective is chosen. That is where our true power lies. When faced with hardship, one person breaks down in despair, while another meets the same hardship with composure and resolve. The difference is not in the situation, it is in the response, and that difference makes all the difference. Learning to respond with intention requires effort. It asks for awareness. It means stepping back in the moment, observing what has happened, and asking, what is mine to control here? Often, it is not the event itself that needs to be changed, but our story about the event. A delay does not have to become frustration. A harsh word from someone does not have to become personal insult. A failure does not have to become a reflection of our worth. We are the authors of our own interpretation, and in that authorship lies power. This is not about denial or pretending that nothing matters. It is about choosing what matters most. It is about refusing to give away your peace every time life surprises you. It is about responding with clarity rather than reacting with emotion. When you begin to see this clearly, even chaos loses its... You stop being a puppet pulled by every situation and begin to act from a place of stability. The practice of choosing your response is a daily one. It shows up in small moments, a difficult conversation, an unexpected problem, a disappointing outcome. In each of these, the question is the same. Will I let this control me, or will I decide how I meet it? The more often you choose wisely, the stronger that muscle becomes. Over time, you realize that your mind no longer jumps to panic, anger, or blame. Instead, it pauses. It reflects. It responds. No one can take this power from you unless you give it away. You may be insulted, but you decide whether to feel insulted. You may be challenged, but you decide whether to crumble. You may be hurt, but you decide whether that hurt becomes bitterness or wisdom. This choice is always yours, and it is available in every moment, no matter what life puts in front of you. By focusing on response rather than outcome, you become grounded. The world may shift, others may change, plans may fall apart, but you remain still. Not because everything goes your way, but because you no longer need it to. Your peace, your strength, and your direction come from within, from the part of you that nothing external can touch. Expectations are silent architects of suffering. We build them in our minds. Plans, assumptions, beliefs about how people should behave, how life should unfold, how moments should feel. And when the world does not align with these blueprints, we feel betrayed, frustrated, even lost. The reality is not the problem. The distance between what we imagined and what actually is creates the tension. The more tightly we cling to our expectations, the more pain we invite when life inevitably moves in its own direction. It begins subtly. We expect others to understand us, to treat us fairly, to agree with us, to show up in the way we would. And when they don't, we feel disrespected or unloved. But they are not failing us. They are simply being who they are. The failure is in our rigid idea of how they should be. We expect success to come quickly, smoothly, without struggle, and when it doesn't, we doubt ourselves or grow resentful. But perhaps the path was always meant to be difficult. Perhaps struggle is not an error, but a feature of the journey. The mind craves order, predictability, and control. So it creates narratives, projecting how events will go, how relationships will evolve, how outcomes will look. These narratives are comforting, but they are also fragile. The world is not obligated to conform to the script we've written in our head. When we forget that, we begin to suffer unnecessarily. A delay becomes an injustice. A disagreement becomes a betrayal. A loss becomes an insult to our sense of what is fair. Yet in all these cases, the pain is not rooted solely in the moment. It is magnified by the weight of unmet expectations. To release these expectations is not to give up hope or abandon ambition. It is to stop insisting that life follow our personal design. It is the act of recognizing that people are complex, that events are unpredictable, that outcomes are rarely under our full control. It is understanding that the world is not malfunctioning when it does not go our way. It is simply doing what it has always done, moving according to forces larger than our desires. Letting go of expectations does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means remaining engaged while staying open to whatever unfolds. It means giving your best without demanding a specific result. It means loving others without trying to control them. It means working hard without tying your worth to success. This mindset does not dull your life, it deepens it. Because now, instead of constantly comparing what is with what should have been, you are present with what actually is. Freedom grows where expectations end. When you stop measuring people against your ideals, you begin to accept. When you stop holding each moment up against an imagined version, you start to experience life more clearly. When you release the belief that life owes you something, you become grateful for whatever it offers. You stop being pulled by disappointment and start moving with intention. The habit of expecting is deeply ingrained. It whispers that everything must unfold according to our personal logic. But the more you observe your own reactions, the more you begin to notice that much of your distress stems not from reality, but from the belief that reality should be different. That belief is a quiet thief. It steals peace. It clouds perspective. It turns ordinary moments into battlegrounds. By softening your grip on expectation, you reclaim that peace. You make space for life to surprise you, teach you, humble you. You begin to meet each moment not with demands, but with curiosity. You stop asking life to fit your frame and begin reshaping your mind to meet life as it is. Many people live in a suspended state of waiting for things to improve, for the world to calm down, for the right person to appear, for some imagined future to arrive where peace will finally be possible. This mindset, though subtle, is a trap. It assumes that peace is a reward granted once all external conditions are perfect. But external perfection is an illusion, and peace that relies on it is fragile. The truth is, life will always be in motion. There will always be problems to solve, people to deal with, uncertainties to face. If peace depends on those things disappearing, it may never come at all. The present moment is often ignored or resisted because it feels incomplete. People say, once I get the job, or once they understand me, or once I fix this part of my life, then I'll finally feel okay. But in chasing that then, they miss the now. They trade the richness of the present for the hope of a more tolerable future. This postponement becomes a habit, and eventually life becomes a long list of conditions that must be met before one is allowed to feel calm. But no condition will ever be enough. There will always be another thing to fix, another goal to reach, another uncertainty to resolve. The mind that is trained to wait will always find a reason to delay peace. The idea that peace only comes after certain milestones is rooted in a misunderstanding. Peace is not found in the absence of problems, it is found in the presence of perspective. Even in the middle of difficulty, even when plans fall apart, peace can be accessed. It begins with a shift in awareness, a decision to stop arguing with the moment and instead meet it fully. This does not mean resignation. It means presence. It means no longer postponing your calm until the world looks how you want it to. It is easy to tell ourselves that we need more time, more clarity, more stability before we can allow ourselves to rest inside. But the truth is, peace begins when we stop needing life to be different. It begins when we accept that this moment, with all its imperfections, is still whole. It is still worthy of attention, and it is still capable of holding peace. The more we look for serenity somewhere else, somewhere beyond this breath, this step, this hour, the more it escapes us. But when we stop searching and start simply being, we realize it was available all along. There is a quiet power in choosing peace now. It's not flashy and it won't impress others, but it allows you to stand firmly in yourself regardless of what swirls around you. You start to see that no situation has to steal your inner stillness unless you hand it over. You begin to separate what is happening from how you feel about it. You realize that many of the things causing stress in your life are not happening right now. They are worries about what might come or regrets about what already passed. Neither of those exists in the present moment, and when you anchor yourself in the now, those voices begin to lose their grip. Learning to live in the present takes practice. The mind is noisy. It runs to the future and clings to the past. It wants to analyze, fix, improve. But every time you bring your attention back to now, to your breath, to the feel of your feet on the ground, to the simple awareness of this second, you take back control. You stop being dragged by the endless current of thoughts and begin to observe from the shore. And from that place, peace is not only possible, it is natural. Not because everything is right, but because you've stopped demanding that it be. Not because you have arrived somewhere new, but because you've decided to show up where you are. The world is in constant motion, changing, shifting, unpredictable. People come and go. Fortunes rise and fall. Circumstances improve and decline without warning. If peace is built on these unstable foundations, it will always be at risk. If your calm depends on everything outside of you aligning perfectly, then you will live in a state of constant vulnerability. True steadiness begins when you stop anchoring your emotions to external things and start rooting them in the one place you can always return to, yourself. It is tempting to believe that security can be found in relationships, possessions, status, or routine, but all of these are temporary. Even the strongest bonds can be shaken. Even the most stable lives can be disrupted. Relying on the outside world to maintain your inner balance is like building a house on shifting sand. Eventually, the structure begins to crack. And when that happens, the instinct is often to tighten your grip, to try harder to control what cannot be controlled, to demand more from a world that never promised permanence. But there is another way, a quieter, more powerful way. It begins with the recognition that while you cannot stop the storm, you can learn to stand still in its center. That stillness does not come from what others give you or from what life offers. It comes from the clarity that your thoughts, your choices, your values, and your responses are yours alone. These are the only things truly within your domain. Everything else is unknown. When you stop looking outward for validation, safety, or certainty, you begin to reclaim your energy. You no longer waste time trying to fix what is beyond you. You stop chasing the approval of others or the illusion of control. Instead, you turn inward. You observe your reactions. You question your assumptions. You learn to respond rather than react. This is not a retreat from the world, but a deeper engagement with it. One that is grounded in awareness rather than reactivity. Rooting your calm within does not mean closing yourself off. It means understanding where your peace begins and ends. It means being fully present in relationships without being consumed by them. It means giving your best to your work without tying your worth to the outcome. It means showing up in life with courage and commitment, even when nothing is guaranteed. This inner grounding becomes a refuge. When others are swept away by anger, fear, or chaos, you remain steady, not because you are indifferent, but because you are anchored. You know that external events do not define you. They may challenge you, but they cannot shape the core of who you are unless you allow them to. And when that understanding deepens, you start to carry a quiet confidence. Not arrogance, not denial, but a trust in your own ability to meet life as it is. You begin to notice how often people hand over their peace to things outside their control. A rude comment ruins their day. A small inconvenience creates frustration. A single moment of uncertainty sparks anxiety. But all of these reactions stem from a misplaced center, from a belief that the world must cooperate for them to be okay. When that belief is replaced with the understanding that peace is an inside job, everything shifts. Instead of being pulled by the changing tides of fortune, you become like a tree with deep roots. The wind may blow, the rain may fall, but you remain grounded, not unfeeling but unshaken. And from this place of inner steadiness, you begin to live with more clarity, more resilience, and more presence. You engage with the world not as someone seeking something from it, but as someone offering something to it. Your focus, your intention, your peace. And so the path to peace is not hidden in distant futures or buried in perfect conditions. It is here, in this moment, in your willingness to see clearly, to let go, and to return to what is truly within your grasp. Accept what is. Respond with intention. Root yourself in the steady ground of your own awareness. The world may shift, but you do not have to be shaken. Let the noise pass. Let the illusions fade. What remains is quiet, unshakable, and yours. In that space you will find peace, not by chasing it, but by remembering it was within you all along.